Alex stared at the glowing screen of their phone, fingers hovering over the send button. This wasn't just any party invitation. It was a carefully crafted message designed to shake up the entire neighborhood. After months of quiet streets and cautious nods through masks, Alex was ready to throw the summer block party no one would forget. But this wasn't going to be an ordinary party. No, Alex had a secret plan, one that would bring people together in ways no one expected. The invite list wasn't just the usual neighbors. It included the new families down the street, the quiet couple who kept to themselves, and most importantly, a few friends from the local police department. The kind officers who always smiled and waved but rarely got invited to neighborhood events. Alex grinned. This was the kind of party that could change everything. Just as they tapped send, their phone buzzed with a new notification, a message in the neighborhood HOA group chat. The subject line made Alex's heart skip. Urgent, unauthorized gathering alert. Clicking it open, Alex read the words from Linda, a name everyone whispered about but hardly dared confront. Linda was the kind of HOA board member who carried authority like a shield and a sword, enforcing rules with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. Everyone called her Karen behind her back, a nickname she probably never heard but deserved for the way she wielded power. Linda's message was clear and chilling. To all neighbors, I have been informed about an upcoming party at Alex's residence. Please be advised that loud gatherings violate community rules and will not be tolerated. I urge Alex to cancel the event immediately to avoid penalties. Alex's fingers trembled slightly. Was this a threat? An attempt to scare them into silence? Maybe. But it wasn't going to work. Determined not to back down, Alex reread the invitation, imagining neighbors laughing, kids running, and music floating through the summer air. The thought of Linda's cold letter only fueled their resolve. Sudden knock on the door made Alex jump. Peeking through the peephole, they saw a woman in a neatly pressed blouse holding a clipboard. It was Linda. Before Alex could react, the doorbell rang again, this time louder and more insistent. Alex opened the door, heart pounding. "Alex, we need to talk," Linda said, her tone polite but firm. "I'm here on behalf of the HOA. That party you're planning? It has to stop. It's against every rule in the book. Noise complaints have already been filed. If you proceed, there will be consequences." Alex swallowed hard. The room suddenly felt smaller, heavier. "But it's just a small gathering," Alex started. Linda shook her head. "That's not the point. The community rules are clear. No exceptions. You need to cancel it." Alex looked down at the invitation on their phone and then back at Linda's unwavering expression. The battle lines were drawn. "Linda, I respect the rules, but this party means more than just a gathering. It's about community, bringing people together after everything we've been through." Linda's eyes narrowed. "Community doesn't mean breaking rules." Before Alex could respond, their phone buzzed again, a text from one of the police officers they'd invited. "We're on standby, ready to show up and keep things peaceful." Alex felt a rush of adrenaline. Linda's gaze flicked to the phone, a flash of surprise crossing her face before she masked it quickly. "Listen, Alex," she said, voice low. "If you go through with this, don't say I didn't warn you." With that, she turned and walked away, clipboard clutched tightly. Alex closed the door, heart racing. The stakes had just skyrocketed. This wasn't just about a party anymore. It was about standing up to the neighborhood's toughest watchdog. And Alex was ready. But would the police backup really be enough? And how would Linda respond when the music started? The answers would come soon enough. The morning after Linda's chilling visit, Alex woke up to a flurry of messages. Some neighbors were buzzing with excitement over the party. Others were cautiously sending worried emojis, whispering about Linda's threats. The atmosphere in the neighborhood had suddenly shifted from casual to electric, like everyone was waiting for a storm to break. Alex sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee, replaying Linda's words over and over. If you proceed, there will be consequences. What did she mean? Fines, legal action, or worse, being ostracized by the entire HOA? The letter from the HOA had arrived too, slipped under the door early that morning. The official tone made it sound even more serious. Dear resident, it has come to the HOA board's attention that a social gathering is planned for this weekend at your property. Please be reminded that community bylaws strictly prohibit events that exceed a noise level of 50 decibels past 9 p.m. and require prior approval from the HOA. Failure to comply will result in penalties including potential fines and suspension. Of community privileges, we urge you to reconsider and cancel the event. Alex ran their hands through their hair, heart pounding. The HOA wasn't bluffing. This was a formal legal warning. But cancel? That wasn't an option, because this party was more than music and food. It was about breaking through the cold barriers Linda had helped build around the neighborhood. Still, Alex knew the stakes were high. And with Linda lurking like a hawk, ready to pounce, there was no room for mistakes. Determined to prepare, Alex called a trusted friend, Mark, who was an off-duty police officer and longtime ally. Mark, Alex said quietly. Linda's threatening to shut everything down. The HOA's sending letters and she's not messing around. What if they try to break this up? Mark chuckled, reassuring but serious. Don't worry, Alex. We've got your back. A few of us will show up, not to cause trouble, but to keep the peace. You won't be alone out there. That call was a lifeline, but it also made Alex realize how serious this was getting. The day dragged on with an uneasy tension. Neighbors whispered in passing, casting curious looks at Alex's house. The rumor mill churned wildly. Would the police really come? Would Linda call the cops? Would the party be the disaster everyone feared? As afternoon shadows stretched, the front yard began to fill with tables, colorful decorations, and speakers. Alex's closest friends arrived early, helping set up tents and string lights. Despite the nerves, laughter and chatter bubbled under the surface. Some neighbors peeked out their windows, hesitant but intrigued. Then, as the sun began to dip, the first guests arrived. Families, friends, and even a few cautious neighbors who decided to risk the HOA's wrath. The air buzzed with anticipation. Suddenly, the tranquility shattered. A sharp knock at the door. Alex froze. Opening it, they found Linda standing there again, this time flanked by a stern-looking man in a suit. "We're here to ensure compliance," Linda said, voice cold and clipped. "I'm with the HOA board, and this is Mr. Reynolds, the community's legal advisor." Alex's heart thudded painfully. "We have received multiple complaints about this party," Linda continued. "I must insist you stop all music immediately and dismantle the setup." Mark stepped forward, his calm presence a shield. "Linda, the officers invited are here voluntarily, making sure everything stays safe. We want this to be peaceful." Linda's eyes flickered with something unreadable. Annoyance? Calculating strategy? The rules don't make exceptions for guests or officers. The tension was thick, like a wire stretched tight, ready to snap. Alex swallowed hard, knowing this was a turning point. If they backed down now, the night would be lost. But if they pushed forward, there could be serious fallout. Linda raised her clipboard as if preparing to write the final word. Then, unexpectedly, Mark spoke softly but firmly. "We're here in support of the community, Linda. This party isn't breaking the law. Let's keep it that way." For a moment, time hung suspended. Linda stared, weighing her options. Finally, she spoke, voice quieter but no less firm. "I'm giving you one last warning. Keep it down, or the HOA will take further action." With that, she turned sharply and disappeared into the gathering. Dusk, Alex closed the door, heart racing. The battle lines were no longer just drawn on paper. They were alive, crackling, dangerous. And the party? It was just beginning. As twilight deepened, The music began to pulse through Alex's backyard, carrying the promise of a night that would either make or break the neighborhood's fragile peace. Laughter and chatter flowed among the guests, and the twinkling string. Lights cast a warm glow over smiling faces. But beneath the festive atmosphere, a silent war was brewing. Alex moved through the crowd, exchanging smiles and nods, but their mind was elsewhere. On Linda. That determined glare from earlier still, burned in their memory, the cold warning, the legal threats, the unyielding authority she wielded like a weapon. The pressure was suffocating. Then, a quick buzz on Alex's phone snapped them back to reality. A text from Mark, the off-duty cop and trusted friend. "We're gearing up on our side. They won't expect what we've got planned." Alex's pulse quickened. The backup was more than just a few friends in uniform. It was a strategic move, an insurance policy to protect this night that meant so much. But what Linda didn't know, what no one expected, was that Alex had invited more than just a handful of officers. A carefully selected group from the entire local police department was on their way. Not to break up the party, but to show that the community could celebrate safely and with respect for the rules. This wasn't just a party anymore. It was a statement. Alex scanned the crowd, eyes locking on a small group gathered near the back gate. There they were, the officers, dressed casually but unmistakable, with their badges clipped on belts and the easy confidence that comes from years on the force. They laughed quietly, blending in perfectly with the neighbors. A ripple of surprise ran through Alex's guests as more officers arrived, quietly slipping into the party like reinforcements on a mission. The atmosphere shifted subtly, from tense anticipation to a cautious optimism. Word spread quickly. The police were here, but not to enforce, only to protect. Then, unexpectedly, Linda appeared again, this time standing at the edge of the yard. With a clipboard, her eyes sharp as ever. Her usual sternness was tinged with disbelief. She clearly hadn't expected the turnout, let alone the company. Linda's gaze swept over the scene, stopping on the officers who smiled and waved politely. The sight seemed to unsettle her, breaking the armor she usually wore like a suit of iron. Alex noticed the flicker of uncertainty. Was Linda reconsidering? Or simply weighing her next move? Linda approached slowly, clipboard still in hand. "I don't know what game you're playing, Alex, but inviting the police to a loud party doesn't change the rules." Before Alex could respond, one of the officers stepped forward with a calm smile. "We're not here to cause trouble, Linda. We're here to make sure this event stays peaceful. The community deserves to enjoy their neighborhood safely." Linda's eyes narrowed, lips pressing into a thin line. "Rules are rules." Alex took a breath. "It's more than just a party. It's about trust, about showing that we can come together without fear." A tense silence fell. Then, as if on cue, a neighbor from across the street raised a glass. "To community." Glasses clinked. The music swelled. And for the first time, the night felt like a real celebration. But beneath the surface, the stakes remained high. Linda was still watching. The HOA's shadow loomed large. Alex knew this was only the beginning. There were battles ahead, legal, social, and personal. But tonight, they had made their point. The party was on, and the neighborhood would never be the same. The evening air buzzed with excitement, laughter, and the hum of music as the party reached full swing. Neighbors who barely exchanged more than a wave were now chatting freely, sharing stories and snacks under the glow of lanterns and fairy lights. For many, it was a night of much-needed relief and connection. Alex moved through the crowd, heart swelling with pride. The police officers mingled effortlessly, kids gathered around, and even the usually reserved couple from next door had joined in the fun. It was exactly the kind of night Alex had hoped for. But as the moon climbed higher, the atmosphere subtly shifted. Out of the corner of Alex's eye, A familiar figure appeared at the edge of the yard. Linda. Clipboard in hand, expression unreadable, she stood silently watching the festivities unfold. The crowd noticed her too, and conversations hushed for a moment. Everyone knew what she represented. The looming threat of disruption. Linda's stare cut through the warm glow like a cold blade. Alex felt the weight of her gaze, but refused to let it dampen the mood. They took a deep breath and raised a glass toward the gathering. "This is our night," Alex whispered, mostly to themselves. Suddenly, Linda stepped forward, her voice ringing out louder than the music. "This party is in direct violation of HOA regulations," she announced, clipboard shaking slightly in her grip. "I'm here to shut it down." A hush fell over the crowd. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then, the unexpected happened. 1. Of the officers, a tall woman named Officer Ramirez stepped between Linda and the partygoers. Calm but firm, she spoke clearly. "Linda, we are here to ensure everyone's safety. We've been invited, and the party complies with the law. Please reconsider." Linda's eyes flashed with frustration, but she held her ground. "I'm not here to debate. The HOA rules are clear, and this party exceeds them. Music off. Party over." Alex stepped forward, voice steady but tinged with defiance. "Linda, this isn't just about rules, it's about the community healing and coming together. We planned this carefully, and the officers here are proof that we're responsible." Linda's lips curled into a thin smile. Responsible? Or not? Rules are rules. You'll regret pushing this. Tension crackled like static electricity. Neighbors exchanged uneasy glances. The officers maintained their calm stance, prepared to de-escalate if needed. Suddenly, from the back gate, another voice cut through the charged air. It was Mark, Alex's friend and off-duty cop, walking up confidently. "Linda, you're welcome to join us, but if you insist on shutting down the party, you'll have to explain that to the police officers here." Linda froze, caught off guard by the unexpected support. The crowd murmured in surprise. A tense silence followed. Then, Linda's shoulders stiffened. After a long moment, she slowly lowered her clipboard. "This isn't over," she said coldly, turning on her heel and disappearing into the night. The crowd exhaled collectively, the tension melting away as the music resumed and laughter returned. But Alex knew better. This was just the calm before the storm. The battle with Linda and the HOA wasn't finished, and as the police mingled, the neighbors danced, and the night carried on. A single question hung in the air. What would Linda do next? The night grew darker, but the party's energy burned brighter than ever. Music vibrated through the yard, neighbors laughed, and the scent of barbecue filled the air. For a moment, it felt like the neighborhood had forgotten the tensions lurking just beneath the surface. But tensions had only been simmering. Linda wasn't done. As Alex watched the crowd enjoy themselves, they spotted her approaching again, this time flanked by two other HOA board members, their faces tight with determination. Clipboard in hand, Linda moved with purpose. The music softened but didn't stop. Linda raised her voice. "Alex, this party is illegal. You are violating HOA noise ordinances, and I'm demanding that it end immediately." A hush fell over the yard. Alex felt all eyes on them. Mark, standing close by in his casual police attire, stepped forward. "Linda, we're here to make sure everything stays safe. No laws are being broken. This party is peaceful." Linda's eyes narrowed. "That's for the board to decide." One of the other board members, Mr. Jenkins, stepped in with a stern voice. "Alex, you're risking fines and potential legal action. This is your final warning." The crowd tensed. Alex looked at their friends, neighbors, and the officers quietly watching, ready to back them up. The moment felt like a standoff, order versus rebellion. Alex took a deep breath. "I'm not shutting this down. This party is about bringing the community together. We're responsible, we're respectful, and we have support. Linda's glare intensified. You think you can just ignore the rules because you have the police here? This isn't about support. It's about authority. Suddenly, one of the officers, Officer Ramirez, stepped forward, voice calm but commanding. Linda, the officers are here because Alex invited us to help keep the peace. This isn't a threat, it's community policing. We're here to support, not enforce if things get out of hand. Linda's jaw tightened. The partygoers held their breath. Then, unexpectedly, Linda took a step back. This isn't over, she said coldly. We will be monitoring this closely. Without another word, she turned on her heel and stalked off with the other board members. The party erupted back to life, but a quiet undercurrent ran through the crowd. This was more than a celebration. It was a challenge to the authority Linda represented. Alex felt a surge of adrenaline. They had won the night, but the war with the HOA was just beginning. Some neighbors came forward, whispering words of support. Others looked worried, afraid of repercussions. And through it all, the police officers remained steady pillars of calm. As the night wore on, Alex knew this party would be talked about for weeks, maybe months. But tonight wasn't just about fun. It was about standing up to Linda, to the HOA, and to anyone who thought they could dictate how the neighborhood lived and laughed. And as the music played on, the question hung in the air like smoke. How far would Linda go to win? The party was still alive well past midnight. The neighborhood that had once been so divided now pulsed with a vibrant energy, people smiling, dancing, and talking like old friends. Alex stood near the edge of the yard, watching the scene unfold with cautious optimism. But beneath the laughter and music, Alex's mind churned. Linda's warnings echoed like distant thunder. Her threats had not vanished, only paused. The HOA was watching. The consequences still loomed. Just then, Alex's phone buzzed. A private message from an unknown number. Meet me outside. We need to talk. A friend. Curiosity and apprehension mingled as Alex slipped through the crowd and out the back gate, where a shadowy figure waited under a street lamp. The figure stepped forward, revealing herself to be Mrs. Carlson, an older neighbor known for her quiet demeanor, but respected for her years in the community. I don't usually get involved, Mrs. Carlson whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. But Linda's plan goes deeper than you think. She's been trying to tighten control over the entire neighborhood. More rules, more fines, more power. Alex frowned. What do you mean? Mrs. Carlson sighed. She's been lobbying the HOA board to implement stricter policies, and she's targeting anyone who resists. This party of yours, she sees it as a threat to her control. Alex's heart raced. So what can we do? Mrs. Carlson smiled faintly. That's why I'm here. Some of us have been quietly organizing. We want change too, but we need support. Tonight, you've shown people what's possible. If we stand together, we can push back. Alex's phone buzzed again. It was Mark. Heads up. More officers are on their way. Things might get tense. The situation was escalating faster than Alex had imagined. Returning to the party, Alex noticed new arrivals. Additional police officers blending into the crowd, ready to step in if needed. Their presence was reassuring, but also a sign that this wasn't just a simple neighborhood party anymore. Back near the house, Linda reappeared, flanked by a few familiar faces, board members and some neighbors who clearly supported her cause. Her gaze locked onto Alex's. You're making this personal, she said, voice cold and sharp. But this is about the community's rules, not you. Alex stepped forward. The community is made of people, Linda, not just rules. And tonight, people chose to come together despite you. Linda's smile was thin and brittle. We'll see how long your community lasts. As she walked away, whispers spread through the crowd. Linda's influence was real, and she had allies. But so did Alex. Mrs. Carlson approached again, whispering, "We're stronger than they think. Don't lose hope." The night wore on with undercurrents of tension beneath the celebration. Alex felt a new sense of determination. This party wasn't just about a night of fun anymore. It was the opening salvo in a battle for the soul of the neighborhood. And as the first hints of dawn touched the sky, Alex knew one thing for sure: Linda wouldn't quit, but neither would they. The first light of dawn cast a pale glow over the neighborhood, but the tension that had simmered all night was far from cooling. As the last few partygoers drifted away, the unease lingered like a storm cloud on the horizon. Alex leaned against the porch railing, rubbing tired eyes and replaying the events in their mind. The party had been a success, a bold statement against Linda's oppressive grip, but the conflict was far from over. Just then, the crunch of footsteps on gravel made Alex look up. To their surprise, Linda appeared alone, away from the board members and her usual entourage. Her expression was unreadable, softer than before but still guarded. "I came to talk," Linda said quietly. Alex raised an eyebrow. "Now?" Linda nodded. "I know you think I'm the enemy, but I'm not the bad guy here." Alex's skepticism flared. "Then what are you?" Linda sighed. "I've been trying to enforce rules because I care about the neighborhood. I want it to be safe, peaceful, organized." Alex shook their head. "Safe doesn't mean silent. Peaceful doesn't mean lifeless." Linda looked away, struggling with her own doubts. "Maybe I've been too harsh, but the board, they expect results. They want control." Alex felt a flicker of empathy. "Control isn't community." Linda hesitated, then pulled out an envelope. "I'm offering a truce. The HOA will drop the fines and stop trying to shut down your events, if you agree to work with us to create fair guidelines." Alex blinked. The offer was unexpected and tempting, but was it a trap? Before Alex could answer, Mark approached with a serious look. "Linda's been lobbying the board, but there are other forces at play," Mark said low. "Some board members want to escalate this. They won't like her softening." Linda's jaw tightened. "I can't guarantee they'll listen." Alex exchanged a glance with Linda, then nodded slowly. "All right," Alex said. "We'll work together, but on our terms. We want transparency, community input, and respect." Linda extended her hand. Alex hesitated, then shook it. The moment felt fragile, like a delicate truce on a battlefield. Suddenly, a voice cut through the quiet. From behind, Mr. Jenkins and two other board members appeared, their faces hard with disapproval. "This is a mistake, Linda," Jenkins spat. "You're siding with troublemakers." Linda squared her shoulders. "I'm trying to do what's right for the community." Jenkins sneered. "You're weak." Alex stepped forward, voice steady. "This community deserves better than power struggles and threats. We want a neighborhood that listens and grows together." A tense silence stretched. Then, unexpectedly, a few neighbors who had stayed late stepped forward, voices raised in support of Alex and Linda's alliance. The board members exchanged uncertain looks, their control slipping. Linda glanced at Alex. "This is just the beginning." Alex nodded. "Then let's make sure it's a good beginning." As the sun rose higher, casting warm light over the neighborhood, the future felt uncertain, but hopeful. The battle with the HOA had entered a new chapter, one where cooperation and courage might just change everything. The sun rose fully over the neighborhood, bathing the streets in golden light. The night's battle seemed like a distant memory, but Alex knew the war with the HOA was far from over. The tentative truce with Linda gave a glimmer of hope, but deep down, Alex sensed something bigger lurking beneath the surface. As neighbors cleaned up after the party, conversations buzzed with cautious optimism. The officers lingered, chatting with residents, easing fears and building bonds. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. Then, just as they began to relax, Mark pulled Alex aside, his face grave. "There's something you need to know," Mark said quietly. Alex frowned. "What?" Mark lowered his voice. "Linda's not the real power behind the HOA." Alex blinked. "What do you mean?" Mark looked around to ensure no one was listening, then leaned in closer. "There's a wealthy investor group, quiet, behind the scenes, buying up properties, pushing for stricter rules to raise property values and control the neighborhood. Linda's just their front woman." Alex's heart raced. That explained the ruthless crackdown, the sudden legal threats, the aggressive tactics. They want to make this community into something it's not. Something profitable, sterile, and controlled. Alex felt a surge of anger and determination. "We have to expose them," Alex said. "But how?" Mark smiled grimly. "I have a plan." Over the next days, Alex and Mark worked together, gathering evidence, talking with neighbors, and secretly recording conversations. The officers helped discreetly, using their knowledge and connections to uncover the truth. Linda, caught between the investors' pressure and her own conscience, grew more conflicted. One evening, she reached out to Alex. "I'm done being a pawn," she said. "Help me take them down." Together, they planned a neighborhood meeting, open, honest, and revealing. When the day came, the community hall overflowed with curious neighbors, some wary, others hopeful. Alex stepped up to the podium and laid out everything: the investors' plans, the hidden agendas, Linda's confession, and the community's strength. The room erupted in shocked whispers, but instead of despair, determination took hold. Neighbors volunteered to organize committees, demand transparency, and protect their homes. The HOA board, stripped of its shadows, faced an unprecedented challenge. Linda, now an ally, worked openly with Alex and the community, forging a new path based on trust and respect. The police officers remained a steady presence, bridging the gap between authority and residents. And, Alex? They became a symbol of courage and unity, a reminder that even when the odds seem stacked against you, standing together can change everything. As the sun set over the neighborhood, laughter and music filled the streets once more, this time without fear or threats. The community was reborn, stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever came next.